everybody, and welcome to this video of myself and Mr. Alistair Penman brandishing, as he is, a very nice condition, or I should say beautiful sounding, Alistair. And it's nothing to do with him.
Am I not in beautiful condition?
Not quite as good as a saxophone. This is a Yanagisawa A992 bronze alto saxophone in our pre-owned stock. Really lovely tone on these bronze Yanagisawas. I am a big fan, especially on the more classical or even contemporary classical playing, but it can do a bit of everything, jazz, whatever you want. But Alistair, could you give us a bit more of a blow, and then we'll talk about this particular instrument as well. So joking aside, obviously Alistair makes lots of things sound good, but I think this particular bronze Yanni, and the bronze Yannis in general, especially the 992 versions, and we'll talk about what that means with regards to the spec later, just have a gorgeous, it's kind of a haunting, cello-y sort of a sound.
Yeah, it's very warm and rich, the sound on this. Actually, my soprano for many years was a 992, and I really love the rich, warm sound of that. And I think the bronze, that's essentially what the 992 means, is the 991 was kind of the standard professional model. 992 is the bronze version of it. And I do think the bronze ones have a real richness. There's a kind of softness to the sound. So you perhaps don't get as much punch as you would out of the standard lacquer ones. But there's a real kind of richness and depth to the sound, I think.
Yeah, and that bronze is basically different constituent percentages of the brass. So there's often more copper, and brass generally is made up of a few variant parts, but the bronze is actually a core material difference. I suppose that's what I'm trying to say. Whereas the standard yellow brass models, like Alistair says, have generally a higher zinc than this content, and therefore they're a bit pingier, a bit brighter, whereas the extra copper, as well as the other constituent parts in the bronze, helps give some of that warmth. The other thing, Alistair, we mentioned this is a 992, which was before the current model, which is an AW020. This is the current version, the AW020. This is the A992, which would compare to that. They have the underslung neck, so you can see obviously the mechanism and the strap is all underneath, and there's just the octave vent hole on the top. The idea being to make this more free blowing, or basically change the resistance point of the air being pushed through the instrument. Also, there are very thick straps that run all the way down the body, so plates of brass that run down the body that all the pillars are attached to. That adds weight to the instrument, but it adds a bit of density to the core sound. The old 9.0 models, 901, 902, don't have those plates. They're a bit lighter and a bit buzzier sounding, and they don't have the underslung neck. And the final thing, and I'm doing a lot of talking, but hopefully it's useful information, and I'm just going to lift it up because I know that's quite a tight angle over there, is you've got the double arm support arms on the low C key there as well, which just makes sure that sits a little bit better when it seats, and on the lower bell keys too. So all in all, this really is a premium Japanese-made professional quality instrument. We have also repadded this in chocolate roux pads, which are a premium deluxe pad type, chocolate roux pads with a seamless domed resonator. This is all the tech spec, folks. And like all instruments that we sell here at Dorks secondhand, you can just know it's going to be playing to its optimum because of that workshop time that we put in. Any other thoughts, Alistair? Maybe usage. I mean, I'm talking classical here, but you can kind of do everything on these.
Yeah, I mean, you can do a bit of everything on these. It's probably ideally for kind of classical player or playing in wind bands, that sort of thing. But you'll equally find jazz players playing on these sax as well, with put a jazz mouthpiece on it, and they've got a nice big sound. You can certainly, even though it's in the bronze, you can still get plenty of brightness out of it with the right mouthpiece, if that's what you're after.
Or a nice Paul Desmond vibe, even if you want something a bit more gentle. Just to help us then, what are you using on your setup?
So this is my usual classical setup, which is a Selmer Concept mouthpiece. I've actually got a synthetic reed on there today, which is I've been experimenting with, which is a Didario Venn reed. I think it's a 3.5 I've got on there at the moment. But yeah,
sounds
great,
good.
nice. Yeah, I mean, if All Sounds tech spec was a bit too much, what I'd say is it's a very nice sax.
There you go. That's the short version of the video. All right, play us out then, Alistair, a little bit more. Thanks.
you.